I feel like my parents are still sacrificing for us because even though we've lived here for like over a decade, they still don't speak the language and they're not integrated into the American lifestyle yet, you know? And I feel like they sacrifice so much, like leaving everything. Imagine like not speaking a word of French and you just move to France and learning everything. I feel like that would be so scary and they don't know anything. So I feel like they sacrifice so much just for me to be here, you know? My name is Nying. This is my second year of college and I'm doing pre-nursing right now. My parents moved to the Mela refugee camp like way before I was born, so like 20 years before I was born, because they were fleeing from the Burmese militia since they were like trying to kill them, you know? So they were in the refugee camp for over 20 years. I was born there in 2001. So I lived there for only 6 years, but I kind of remember like the good parts, you know? As a kid, I don't remember like the harsh, no food, no clean water, no plumbing thing. I just remember like the fun. You know, when it rained, I would run outside with my friends. And I remember they would turn on the clean water in the morning and in the afternoon, twice a day, because there's no other clean water. And there's like this pole, and everybody will line up with their buckets to get clean water. And I never had to do it because I was 6, you know, so lucky me. But my brother and my sister, they would have to do it because it was part of their chores. They would hate it because the water's heavy, and they have to wait a long time, and people would like go in front of you. I also remember us not being able to leave the camp, you know, like as a refugee, you're not seen as a human being. You're seen more of like kind of a nuisance, you know, in their country. So a lot of people who would try to leave and make money for their family, they wouldn't end up coming home because they would get killed and nobody would know because we're not people to them, you know. But I never really knew any of that until my parents told me when I grew up because I was too little to know back then. After a long time, we waited a long time to come here. Like, we had to wait a really long time. Like, my parents lived in the refugee camp for 20 years. And when we came here in 2007, we didn't speak any English. I remember getting stuck in Chicago, and we were like thirsty, we were hungry, we didn't speak English. And nobody would help us, like they would just pass us, so that was pretty scary. But when we got to Salt Lake, we were all really drained, and we ended up in a townhome called South Park. I remember a chicken in the fridge and like a bunch of other foods we've never seen before, you know, American food. So we didn't eat for a while, and they gave us beds, but we were so used to sleeping on the floor, we just slept on the floor. And the first few years it was kind of hard for my parents because all their kids were like under 18 and we didn't speak English. And we were one of the first families here, so we didn't really have anybody to ask, you know, to guide us. So we just figured it out. And I remember not knowing how to go to the bathroom, and my English teacher had to go with me, and she's like, "This is how you flush." And I got super scared of it because it was so loud. And then things got easier, I guess. I learned English, and we made friends, and more Korean people moved to Utah, so we had more of a bigger community, you know, more people to relate to. So I feel like a lot of the refugee people here, once they stop getting Medicaid and the benefits from the government, they get jobs that don't have like good health insurance, you know? So they're afraid to go to the clinic even if there's something wrong with them, you know? So I really want to help them out by starting a free clinic and make sure they go and they get checked out to prevent anything preventable, because I feel like a lot of people die because they don't want to go and pay the ER bills and stuff. And I feel like once I've done it here, I'd feel more confident myself to do it back in Thailand, you know? Because the health there is like really bad. People die really young, like they're in their 30s and they're dead. And it's normal for them because they don't have access to health care. I'm really passionate about it because I see a lot of families, like big families, because Korean people, they don't know about birth control. And they have a lot of kids that get sometimes neglected. I feel like they don't mean to neglect them, but they don't get the proper health needs of it. And also in Thailand, I see a lot of people really sick, and we had like the clean water, but nothing else was sanitized, you know? Like the clinic, it was super. I remember going to visit my aunt, And there was like a guy by her, and I don't know if he was alive or not, but there was like a bunch of flies, and they barely had beds. So I was like, that sucks. Like, I feel like we're human, you know? We should be treated as human. Because here, the rich get super, like, treated well. Like, they get these fancy beds and everything, and I feel like everybody deserves it, you know? Throughout the whole world. So I would thank the donors, you know, because not everybody has a chance to go to college because of like financial issues. I feel like there's so many smart people out there who doesn't get a chance at a second education because they don't have access to money, you know. And I feel like everybody should get an education, even if they don't have money, you know. So I'm really glad there's scholarships like this to help me and like people like me to actually kind of get out of the cycle of poverty I've seen around me.